Hello, this is Jeff Jennings with BIM Modular. In this video today, we're going to be covering how to work with Revit Type Catalogs when you have Revit families that are in international languages with special characters. So for this example, we're going to, this is a file to name for named it for table for Chinese, and we also had created the typical Revit table, but I added the Chinese characters here at the very beginning for the word table. We're going to export this file out as a type catalog, use Excel to edit the file, and then look at the problems and the challenges with transferring Revit Excel data back into Revit. What is the criteria you need to make a change for the files to work? There's a difference between how files get imported if you are in Revit 2020 or before versus in Revit 2020 and 2021 and newer. So we're going to also cover that as well too. So anyway, so let's go through the process here. We're going to go first do a file export, family types, and from here, here's the type we've created. I'm using a folder called Revit Type Catalogs on my desktop for this video. So that's been exported. I can go in here now and you'll see I have this file here set up. You'll see the three types we have set up here for Chinese as well. So at this point here, we're ready to begin some testing with this file and show you what happens. First off, I want to do is show you if I open this up in Notepad, you will see the very bottom right hand side, this file is called a UTF-16LE. This file format works in all versions of Revit, from old versions of Revit to the current versions of Revit. Revit 2021 and newer also allows you to import in with the UTF-8 bombs and UTF-8 only. And you can do a UTF-8 also in 2017, but there are limitations when you start making those conversions, especially with international languages. So we'll cover that here as well. Anyway, so at this point, let me go ahead and make sure that is closed out, and we're going to now go ahead and make some copies of this file so you can see the impact of those changes. So I'm just go back and just copy this here, Control V, 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 and I'm going to go ahead and call this first one out here. Let's copy. We'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and import the data. So we're going to do a data import in Excel, and this will be as a TXT import. I'm also going to do this next one here. We're going to do a data import. This actually will bring stuff in as a tabular format. Data import CSV.CSV. That's fine. And then we also have here the typical open file process. So we're going back and just rename that, and we'll go and give this a -open txt, and I'm going to do this one here with a -open csv.csv. This kind of shows you 4 different ways we're going to handle the data coming in. Most typical you'll see is a process where you just take this file, copy that, do a rename, name it a .csv, and then this is be ready to be loaded into Revit, into Excel for editing. As you can see in all of these, each one of these I click on the right hand side, this data is all identical. And now we're going to go through the process of testing the various methodologies within Excel and how to deal with some workarounds to the international languages. So what we're going to do is open up Excel here, and I'm going to do first, let's go and start with the traditional method, which is just the open file through a TXT and a CSV. So we're going to go to our file, open, and we're going to browse our location. Here's a folder. We'll grab the open TXT, open that. It's going to ask us to import it. Yes, we have headers. It's delimited. It's going to be tab. Sorry, it's going to be comma, and a text qualifier, double quote. Click finish, and you will now see this data has appeared, and we have all of our languages and information in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to export this file. So we'll just do a regular, not really export, but just you have actually different options in exporting or saving. Let me do some saves first, and we'll do export seconds. So we're going to do a save as. It's going to bring up Unicode because it sees this as an international language. So we'll go ahead and just use this file, call that Unicode, and press save. All right, I'm going to also come back in here and do a file save as, and we'll call this with our UTF-8 CSV, and we'll press save here. And we'll do another one, a couple more here. Let's do a file save as. We'll go down here to a standard CSV. And we're going to do last one, file save as. And we'll come down here to like this MS-DOS CSV. Okay, so we have now made various save as conditions for this international language. Let's see what happened. Now we're going to review the conditions of each one of these save as files. So the first one we're going to grab, which was right here. These are all those A10 series and 809. We're going to look at the CSV. You'll see the CSV is only question marks. If I open this up in Notepad, you'll see exporting the international characters. We lost the actual language. The special characters are removed when you do a CSV export or save as CSV. If I go into the MS-DOS version and do the same thing, I'll open that up in Notepad as well too. It too also loses the international characters. If we go into Unicode format, we have retained that information. However, the Unicode has now caused the impact that it doesn't match the criteria for Revit imports anymore because it needs to be in a comma delimited file format. So this will not also work without further cleanup. You'll see down the very bottom here, the Unicode did do the correct UTF-16LE format. This one was exported with a UTF-8, and this one right here should also be UTF-8. UTF-8. The last one we have, which is this UTF-8, you'll see that we do have the characters correct. So if I go ahead and open this up here into Notepad, we now have the correct information here with the international characters. Pay attention though, this bottom here, it is generated as a UTF-8 with BOM. And so exporting out this UTF-8 file will not work in Revit 2020 or before. So to show you an example of that, let me go ahead and close this. I'm going to now try to import the one that looks the most accurate, which is this UTF-8 format, OpenTXT. So back into Revit here, we'll go into our insert, import family types. And I'm gonna now go back in here to the file we're working on. And this is the, oh, I need to change it to a CSV, my apologies. So we'll come back in here. This one is going to be changed back to a TXT file. Okay. We know this is not any good here, so we're going to just delete that. That's the one that had ruined the characters. It's locked. Let's go back and just do this one here. So we'll now import family types. Go to our folder, and you'll see the one that we know is the best. It was a UTF-8 with BOM is how exported. So I open the file up, then you'll see this happening. And the reason being is that the UTF files, when you do the exporting, if it has a BOM, it actually generates a certain character code string. There's 3 different characters that designate this as being a BOM-based file format. So for the BOM issue here, what you're seeing is with regard to this character from the research I have been able to pull together, in Revit, when you get this warning issue separator, it's because the UTF-8 BOM file is a sequence of bytes at the start of a text stream that allow the reader to more reliably guess the type of file format being encoded, which is the case of the UTF-8. So we've got these characters that are being embedded into the text file, and that is why you're getting well, as I can determine, this is the actual Revit's response to seeing these characters at the very beginning of a BOM file. So to override this issue, and then we'll go into other solutions as well too to show you more on this fact, if you go in here to this format and do a notepad, and I go back and instead you still see the .bomb, we'll do a file save as. In this case here, let's change this just to a UTF-8. We're going to change this to a UTF-16LE. This is a preferred method for reading into Revit. By doing that, if I go back and change this to a 16LE and press save, and we'll close this on out, I can now go back into my Revit here, 2017, also in 2021 or 2023, any versions, import. Now we're going to go back to that file, grab this one, open, and it will now work. So I'll go ahead and just import all the new types, and at this point here, the same ones, but if I go in here to create a file, you'll see everything was retained and all the language settings. So that is the kind of the key. If we want to continue the video, we'll look at now at what happens with data streams and importing the stuff in as well, and those challenges. So you'll see online speed recommendations for how to load in a CSV file or TXT file back into Excel using data tables. I want to address a couple issues with that. Number one, go to data, go to from TXT or CSV file. We've already set up two of them to look at, for example. I'll go here to this particular folder. Desktop and Type Catalogs. And let's go ahead and grab the ones we set up here for data import CSV and TXT. So we'll just grab the TXT format first, go ahead and do the import. So here's our information in place here. It's Unicode formatting, and we'll go ahead and press transform data. And what you need to be careful about here is going to create basically a power query of the system. You need to accept and close, and it's now going to go ahead and load that information in here. What's going to happen is, yes, we have the language has been retained initially, but it's also added the additional columns above here. So you have to go back and do another round of cleanup, and which we'll cover now. So I'm going to go in here and do a file. In this case here, we can do either the save as version, or I'll do export version, file type. Let's go ahead and change this, keep this as a tab. And I'm going to give this the same similar structure here. So this was our data import TXT, and I'm going to call this now data export TXT file. That's okay. This is a warning about multiple sheets because it's added a new sheet here when we did that. Let's go and do the same thing again here now to see the difference with the version with a CSV. So we're going to go ahead and do a new sheet, data, and then import. This time we're going to pick the CSV file. Again, you can see that here on the right hand side as we had originally set up. Same thing, we had the values, transform data, save and close. So you can import both in a TXT and CSV format directly in the same process. So you don't have to rename the file prior to importing. Go back here now. In this case, let's do the export. Change file type as a CSV. Press save. And we'll go ahead and call this one with the data export CSV. Press save. Yes, it's fine because we want to pick that first page or on our main page, our active sheet. All right, so we have now created two different exports. Let's now look at those. So if I go in here to this export txt, which is right here, here's what happened with that. Our language is now gone. And also we have all of this tab spacing and not comma separated files. So you cannot export from Revit Excel back out into a txt format. You'll have this issue occurring as well. Also, that data table is now going to generate a whole nother file up here, another row of data, which is all original column headers of the data, the Power Query data table. So that has to be also effectively done through Notepad. Go to Notepad, then you have to get back in there and delete this, delete those lines, put in your comma. So you have all your comma separatings to do, modify all this, typically be through a find replace feature. So if I go in and grab this one, copy, do a edit, find replace, change that value, put the comma in place to replace all. You've got that change, and then you have to go back in there lastly and change your language values as well to put it back into localization. And then at that point, you're just going to press save, and that's been modified. Let me combine you. I'll put the language back in here in a second. Populate that right here. And file, save. And again, in this case, we need to make sure we're setting this up here for a UTF-16LE, so it would actually work for the import into older files, older versions of Revit. All right, that one's done. Now, okay, so now we're going to look at the export of the data table for the CSV format. As you see the CSV format up here, it is put it in the correct formatting for Excel, for Revit. However, we now have this data table column at the top row, are all the column header names, and we've also lost the languages. So let's go back in here and do this, and we're going back and edit this information, Notepad. We need to delete that data. You'll see here we've got a UTF version 8 format. We can do a UTF version 8, but not the 8 bomb. Bombs can cause the error problem. So this means that those special characters are not in this file, so that's good. We're going to now replace those character names here. Change that. And I'm going to show you here, next issue here is pay attention to your character format because it's going to change when we load it into Revit. So we're going to press save, and we now have this one looking correct. Let's go ahead here now and change this to a TXT. And let me make sure here, this is going to be named, just for clarity. We're going to do UTF-8. And I'm going to also, let me go back and edit this one here. Open it, Notepad. And we'll do a file, save as. In this case here, we're going to give it a 16LE. So I'm going to go ahead and 16LE is the other one we have. All right, so we now have the 8 and the 16LE. We're now going to test those. Again, pay attention to your characters because they're going to change in Revit. Unfortunately, so therefore you lose your language. We'll go in here to insert, load family. In this case here, I'm going to come back to that folder and we'll pick the 8 version first. Open it. Voila, it will go ahead and start the process of loading without the error message. So we'll go ahead and import the new types, override existing, and I go back in here to create, look at my family types, you see the originals, but look, now we have another language in here and we lost our Chinese. So let me go ahead and try the other version of 16. So we're going to back up, so we no longer have that import. We come back in here and we'll see that we're clean back to beforehand, and we'll come back to insert and import family types again. This time we're going to grab the 16LE. So we'll go here to this file, grab the 16LE format, this window, save as, open, import new types. That opened and imported correctly, and let's look at the names again. So we have our originals, and it was able to keep that information of the names. So once you load it into a UTF-8, you have a problem. When you go back in and change it to UTF-LE, then you can actually keep those languages. The only challenge is, of course, that you have to do the manual renaming, which means in some cases you could have hundreds, if not thousands, of unique character names in a file, so it will fail. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a process where we use a program called Family Type Manager to quickly import, add information into the file, export the data back out, and load it into Revit all in a matter of a couple of clicks. Okay, so I've opened up a Family Type Manager standard. So we'll go in here now and quickly import the type catalog, make some changes to the file, export it back out, and load back into Revit in a much faster, easier process. And we'll actually generate some new types at the same time. So let's go open up our Type Catalog Manager. In this case here, let's go ahead and import in the file right here. Here's our original file. There's the types, import. Let's read the information, including all the special characters, and loading it in here. So we now have our new type catalog. Let's go ahead and actually just go ahead and duplicate a couple items in here. And let's go ahead and make these, maybe this will be the 1700 series, maybe a little larger table. And we'll go and make one more here, maybe 2600 as well. So we went ahead and also create a couple new types at the same time. So we'll export this data. I'm going to actually, let me go in here and grab this information. I don't want to modify original table for this video. Typically we would, but I'm going to do is edit and create a new type catalog. And I'm just going to save that here. So I now have a type catalog here with a Chinese name. And at this point here, we're going to go through the process of exporting out this file. So we'll go ahead and just press export. And that's done. So we can come back in here now to look at our file, open, and here's one we just sent out. And we now have our information correct for importing into Revit. And you'll see we also have the new family types also generated, our language and all the formatting correct. So let's do two things. I'm going to show you what happens in Revit 2021 and newer, and what we need to do for Revit previous versions from 2020 and before. So I've got right here is Revit 2021 open. Let me go ahead and open up that table here. In this case here, I can go ahead and take and import in, file import. I can now come back to the file we had done. And it was this one. Open it. It all reaches fine. We'll import all the new types, and I go in here to family types. You will now see we've maintained the languages, and now we also have the new versions. So where we were here and apply, I'll go and go to the new versions we created. In fact, let me zoom out some and go here to this one. There's your table, and another one. So parametrically, we also created all of our different family types at the same time while exporting out everything correct for the language format. And let's go here now into the previous versions and show the one thing we have to modify for older versions of Revit. So in this case here, we're going to back into 2017 right here. And if I go in there and try to import that same file, insert, import family types, and I go and pick that file, we're gonna have an error again. And the reason being is that we're still gonna try to, Excel's gonna always try to give it as much as possible a BOM designation to files. So what we need to do here, and 2021 and newer is more flexible at file importing than the older versions are. So if I go back to my type catalog here, I go here, and we'll look at this thing in Notepad. You'll see we had that UTF version 8 BOM. So we need the UTF-8 because we want to make sure we can maintain our languages. What we're going to do here now is just go to File, Save As, put this into version 16 LE, press Save. And so we're going to replace it, yes. It maintains all of our language, all the settings. So I can now come back in here to Insert, Files, pick the folder, the file, open, it reads it, import the new types, and to show what happens before I do this, let me cancel. Well, look at my family types here. I only have those 3. So let's go ahead and now load the bigger files we just created. So we're in here to insert, import family types, import the new types. Now I go to my create. You'll see we have the larger sizes with the available language being retained. So I hope you find this video insightful and hopefully give you some more understanding about difficulties with Revit file importing of type catalogs based upon the Revit version years, and how to also overcome challenges with international languages when working with importing data back into Revit. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Jeff Jennings with BIM Modular.